1. Welcome to the Garden Report. I'm back. Jared Weiss here. I'm with Jimmy Garoppolo over here.
No.
My favorite former New England Patriot
quarterback. There's only one Jimmy
quarterback.
left in New England.
And that's Tuscano.
And I don't think anyone should be surprised with who it is.
Yeah, we got we got the host of Doc Talk over here. We got the host of the Garden Report over here. And let's talk about kid and play JAYSON TATUM.
Kid and play.
And Jaylen Brown. They've had a pretty strong season so far. Interestingly, tonight, JAYSON TATUM was not hitting his shots, but he was crashing the boards. Before the game,
That's what he does.
The Celtics were talking about how they've been really successful having their wings crashing the board and their guards crashing the boards. Tonight, Tatum had, I think it was 11. Celtics have 54 total, destroyed San Antonio, and in the area where they should have their strength because Gasol and Aldridge are both down there. Right. But you're really seeing that kid and play are kind of getting that flow off of each other, and they're also really flowing within the offense and the defensive scheme. It really is working more than anyone really expected at this point.
It's cool to see because everyone's focused on, oh, is Horford and Kyrie, are they going to gel? They're going to mesh. And then on like the other side, you've got the young guys really starting to gel and mesh, where you've got Brown and Tatum. At such young ages, they are really playing beyond their years. And I think like in both cases when Danny Ainge made the picks, he drafted players that I think he just kind of fell in love with their personality as well as their skill, especially with Jaylen Brown. I mean, Jaylen Brown was one of those guys coming out where he was just an interesting guy. Everybody knew that about him. Well, not everybody, but I think everybody who spoke to him and had conversations with him maybe before the draft kind of realized that he was sort of beyond his years, and I think it's translating to the basketball court. And he just has this good thing going with Tatum, and they're both athletic, they're both skilled, so crashing the boards and ripping down those boards, it's not that hard for them. I think they're just right now. They're just young legs. They're not tired. They both logged 30 minutes again tonight. I mean, these guys are playing huge minutes, more minutes than they ever could have dreamed of. With the coach before Brad Stevens and Doc Rivers, who didn't really play rookies that much. But I've been super impressed with both these guys so far, and I mean, the sky's the limit with both of them. It's
funny that younger guys usually used to get more burn in the NBA, but nowadays people don't really play that much more than 30 minutes.
Right.
So it's going to be really interesting to see long term. We won't get into this now, but just how guys like Tatum and Brown, how long their careers will be, just because they're playing so few minutes early on. They're not really pushing themselves too hard, and those guys have
plus
been healthy
playoff
so
minutes
far.
Will be, you assume, for those guys too. Some guys,
we'll see if they make the playoffs. Right now, it's looking pretty good. They're 5-2 now.
Playoffs started today.
If playoffs started today, they'd be at the top, I believe. And so let's get to a guy that's going to be. It was impactful last year in the playoffs. Probably going to be really impactful this year in the playoffs. Terry Rozier is a scoring machine. Not very efficient yet. I think he went 5 for 13 tonight. Not an amazing total, but he is really showing his ability to find his shots in a comfortable way. No longer, if he thinks he sees a gap, he's just driving as fast as possible. He does that a little bit, but I asked Brad Stevens about it, and Stevens was he's saying over the last few years, really, Terry has consistently grown to the point now that he's no longer really pushing it as much as he used to. We saw tonight he had a great play, I think in the fourth quarter, where he crossed up a guy at the top of the key and stepped back into a really nice jumper.
I thought there was Kyrie for a second.
Yeah, because he actually smacked the ground with his offhand on the crossover. It's a key to being a great ball handler. Have to get low to the ground.
Get low.
Because your balance is strong, you can keep moving, and the dribbles are quick, so it's hard to steal that. He had so many issues turning the ball over, but he's tightened up his dribble, he's getting lower, and he's really figuring out how to use his body. What are you seeing out of him besides the 9 things I just listed?
I think you nailed all 9 of them, to be completely honest. I think experience is obviously like an obvious one. He's more comfortable out there. He has a bigger role. So he's coming in earlier games. He's coming in situations where Brad Stevens is confident in his abilities. And I think when you feel like you are counted on, that helps you a lot more than coming into a game in a blowout or in a situation that's you're not really asked to do much, or you're coming in just in spurts. It's hard to get in a flow. He's taking on a much bigger role this year, and I think he stepped up. And I remember when that draft pick was made, I, for one, was a little surprised by it. I mean, I didn't.
Everyone was.
I was flipping through the pages on trying to figure out what this guy was all about coming out of Louisville. But and it took a little bit longer, obviously, for him to get in sort of that, rotation. A lot longer than it would have taken a guy like Tatum or Brown. But he wasn't a top pick. You know what I mean? So, and it's going to take time. A little bit smaller of a guy, but I think he's becoming, I think. Like being on the Celtics, like being around Marcus Smart, being around Kyrie, like he's taking bits and pieces from all those guys. He's almost like the hybrid version of them all. If that makes any sense.
No, that makes total sense. He's pretty good. It's pretty good.
He's decent.
It's funny you mention that because I remember right when he got drafted, I think I was in Washington, actually. I was at the Wizards Arena, and everybody there was like, "Who's Terry Rozier?" Except for like Michael Lee from Yahoo. I think was the only one that like remembered exactly who it was.
Adam Himmelsbach knew him.
Sure,
he covered.
He covered him while he was having lots of fun.
But
getting
actually,
recruited to Louisville.
I did like a kind of a joke, and it ended up kind of taking off a bit. Like they interviewed this like little kid like just during the draft. And I took a picture, and I tweeted it, and I was like, I knew Rozier was small, but I didn't know he was this small. And it was like a 12-year-old kid, and people were like, "Oh my God, what? Who did they draft?" Like some people actually thought it was him. So it just goes to show how far he's come. I need to find that tweet because it was really funny.
I think he's still eating spaghetti and ranch sandwiches somewhere. I'm sure he's at Strega right now eating a spaghetti and ranch sandwich. One, especially for him, custom on the menu.
Hey.
Living that Celtic life. Well, we're going to peace out here. It is 11:15 p.m.
So your nickname
we're
was
out of here
Kid
early.
And Play, right?
Yeah, I came up with Kid and
No
Play
big deal.
like a month ago. And then, or maybe even longer than that. I can't remember when. But then okay, story time on Garden Report.
I shouldn't have asked this. I should
Came
not
up
have
with Kid and
brought
Play like a
this
month
up.
ago.
That
Got no
was a
traction.
big mistake.
Bill Sy, one of my longtime compatriots over at my old place, Celtics blog, tweets it out. And I'm like, this is brilliant. So we're going to make this happen. So I tweet Kid from Kid and Play, who follows me on Twitter, and he quote tweets it, "We likey." End of story. It's over. It's official. Jaylen, Jason, they both endorse it. They say "we likey" as well. And it's as simple as that. And that's how you make history.
My nickname that I have, I'm just going to unveil right now, Y2J. Y2J. J-A-Y.
Yeah, but why 2J?
Y2J.
Por qué?
The year 2000 J.
All right, we're gonna. Actually, that's probably the year they were born, almost, which horrifies me. But
Y2J.
all right, we're gonna wrap it up here. By the way, drapes with Poet for Jaylen.
Awful.
I like that.
No,
I
that's
like
awful.
it. But
And I've
apparently
told it to
Jaylen
his
doesn't
face.
want it.
I've
I
said it
like
to his
it.
face. We're off the rails here.
We're gonna call him the Grand Wizard.
Let's wrap this one up.
All right. As always, Jimmy and Jared going way over time, way over budget. That's it on the Garden Report. We will see you Wednesday as they take on the Sacramento Kings, I believe.
My guy Fox.
And the future Hall of Famer, Scala BCA. We will see you next time on the Garden Report.